the golden age of the Jews in the land of Andalus. The Muslims were so powerful, they were so glorious. Yet this man, this blessed leader, who was also a scholar, he made one catastrophic mistake. He did not keep the amana that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had entrusted upon him. What mistake did he do, ikhwani fillah, that led to the destruction of the Muslims and the expulsion of the Muslims from the land of Andalus? What is this mistake that Al-Hakam, the son of Abdurrahman al-Nasir, he did that led to Islam being destroyed eventually and expelled and massacred of many Muslims because of this one mistake? This is what we're going to discuss tonight. In the year 366 of the Hijri calendar, Al-Hakam ibn Abd al-Nasir, he gets a stroke. He gets a stroke. It's not something he had thought will happen, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala plans. So he got a stroke, he was paralyzed, and he needed someone to succeed him. And the only person that was worthy, according to him, to succeed him was his own son, who was 12 years of age. So he leaves this amana, these lands of the Muslims, lives of the Muslims, properties of the Muslims, honor of the Muslims, to his young baby child who is only 12 years of age. You are the new Khalifa of the Muslims. You are the new leader of the Muslims. What a great blunder he did. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon him. So he died in the year 366 of the Hijr calendar. And the new leader of the Muslims in the land of Andalus, in a period of strength and power and glory, where they are surrounded by enemies from all around. From the north, there's the kingdom of France, the kingdom of Leon, the kingdom of Navarre, the kingdom of Aragon. To the south, in North Africa, is the Fatimid Empire. The Ismailis, they've taken over the entire of North Africa. Yet you're leaving this land of Muslims to a child. This is the mistake he did in the year 366 of the Hijri calendar. So he died, and the new leader of the Muslims is this young boy, Hisham, the son of Al-Hakam, the son of Abdurrahman al-Nasir. But Al-Hakam, before he died, he said, I leave 3 people to be guardians and to direct my son as he becomes the new leader. The first person that I leave is the Prime Minister, Ja'far ibn Uthman al-Mushafi. You take care of my son, direct him. The second person is the commander of the police, the inspector general or the head of the police. He tells this man called Muhammad ibn Abi Amir, you also assist my son. And the third person, the mother, Subh, you assist our son so that he becomes a great leader and leads this country of Andalus. So ikhwani fillah, this begins a new period for the Muslims in Andalus from the year 366 of the Hijri calendar. This commission of police, Muhammad ibn Abi Amir, is a Yemeni, is from the Yemeni tribe. This man, subhanallah, there's a lot of question marks with regards to his character and his performance as a Muslim. He makes plans and he plots and he brings conspiracies to the court, so much so that he ends up killing the prime minister of the time, Ja'far ibn Uthman al-Mushafi. Number 2, he tells the lady, your place is in the palace with your son. Your son, people want to kill him, go in the palace and take care of your son. This is not a place for women. This is not a place for you guys to lead. Stay in the palace. So he became the overall ruler in Andalus, yet he was not known as the actual ruler, but he was the ruler from behind the scenes. Muhammad ibn Abi Amir, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive him. He did not stop there. Number 2, he made sure that he marries the daughter of Ghalib ibn Abdurrahman. Who's Ghalib ibn Abdurrahman? Ghalib ibn Abdurrahman was the commander of the army, was the chief general of the army. So he married the daughter, so he becomes the son-in-law of the general of the army. So he protects himself from any problems with the father-in-law. But a short while later, he makes his plots, he plans, and he manages to kill also his father-in-law, Ghalib ibn Abdurrahman. He calls the general in charge of Morocco, also called Ja'far ibn Ali al-Hamdan, Ja'far ibn Ali ibn Hamdun. He brings him, come, assist me. So he assists Muhammad ibn Amir for a short while. Muhammad ibn Amir ends up killing him. So he has managed to kill these people, and he is the overruler. He has no competitors to his claim to rulership of the land of Andalus on behalf of that child, that weak leader, Hisham ibn al-Hakam ibn Abdurrahman al-Nasir. This was the events in the year 366 onwards. So he becomes the overall ruler of the land of Andalus. He tells the son, he tells the Khalifa, you stay in the palace, do ibadah, people want to kill you, we will protect you, leave the leadership to us. In the year 371 of the Hijri calendar, he declares himself Al-Haajib al-Mansoor. He gives himself a title. Imagine, he gives himself a title that the Khulafa used to give themselves. The Khulafa used to be known as Al-Mustasir, Al-Muqtadir, Al-Mu'tasim, Al-Mansoor, and so on. He calls himself Al-Haajib al-Mansoor, the prime minister who's gained victory. Thereafter, he commands all the Muslims in Andalus, whenever you do the khutbah on Friday, you make dua for the Khalifa and you also make dua for I am your prime minister, also you have to make dua for me. Also, every single coin, every dinar or dirham that is minted in the land of Andalus has to be written in my name. Every book that is published, my name has to appear, for I am the overall ruler in the land of Andalus. In the year 381 of the Hijri calendar, he did something also very strange. He says, when I die, the prime minister after me is my son Abdul Malik. This is something very strange in all of human history. A king usually is the one who chooses the crown prince who will rule after him. Understood? You never find a minister, they say, if I die, my son is going to be the minister of agriculture. If I die, my son is going to be the prime minister. So he was the overruler of Spain and of Portugal at that time. In the year 386 of the Hijri calendar, he declared himself the generous king. You look at this man and you think, this guy was a very bad person. He was not proper to lead the Muslims. But if you look at the opposite also, his good deeds, and you shall be amazed. This man, when he came to the issue of defending the land of the Muslims, defending the honor, declaring jihad on the enemies of Islam, he was number one. He had no person competing with him. He fought 54 battles in his lifetime, Ghazawat, and he was not defeated a single one of them. Muhammad ibn Amir al-Haajib al-Mansoor. Not defeated a single one time. And this is like, when you look at Islamic history, very few Muslims were like this, including Khalid bin Walid, Saifullah al-Maslul, never defeated. Al-Haajib Mansoor, never defeated. Abu Bakr ibn Umar al-Amtuni, we're going to look at later. And also Zahir Berbers, we looked at when we were talking about the Tatar, when he defeated Tatar. These are people, Muslims who are never defeated in the history. This man, with regards to jihad, he managed to enter lands and conquer lands in the northern of Spain, where even Tariq ibn Ziyad, Musa ibn Nusayr, and the early Muslim conquerors did not reach. He entered new lands for the Muslims that no one had ever reached. This man became so feared in Europe that one day he went to attack one of the fortresses of the Christians. They keep their flags, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, or the flag, I don't know exactly what they were writing on their flag in that time period, but they'll keep the flags to show that the Muslims are here. Then after they won the battle, or they didn't win the battle, I think they besieged the fortress, then they were not successful, they left. But they forgot that flag on the hill. Because those northerners or the Christians were very afraid of this man, they did not leave their palace or their fortress for many years, thinking that Muhammad ibn Amir is still on that hill, because that flag of the Muslims was still there. That flag of the Muslims was also had respect, it had fear, and they were respecting it. Another time, he sent his messenger to the kingdom of Navarre. So the messenger goes to the kingdom of Navarre to collect the jizya, the tax that they're supposed to pay as non-Muslims. The Muslims are supposed to pay zakah, non-Muslims are supposed to pay jizya. And usually zakah is even more than jizya. So the non-Muslims are supposed to pay something called jizya, and the Muslims are supposed to pay zakah. So he sends his messenger to Navarre. So the messenger collects the jizya and goes around this kingdom of Navarre. He enters one of the churches and discovers 3 Muslim ladies are imprisoned in Navarre. He asks them, what are you guys doing here? They say, we have been imprisoned by these people. He says, they have imprisoned you. Yet we have a peace agreement amongst us and them that they should not harm the Muslims ever. This messenger was so angry, he went back to Cordoba and tells Haajib al-Mansoor, there are 3 Muslim sisters that have been imprisoned in Navarre and you're not doing anything about it. Al-Haajib al-Mansoor, Muhammad ibn Amir, he started shaking. got very angry and he declared jihad. He got a great army and he besieged Navarre. When the king of Navarre sees that the Muslims are surrounding him, he's wondering what's happening. He leaves his palace running, panting. What's going on, Muhammad ibn Amir? I thought we had a peace agreement. Why are you breaking your peace agreement? It's not the like of the Muslims to break peace agreements. We Christians, we break peace agreements. But you Muslims, you always keep your word. Why are you attacking us? We've not done any mistake. He says, I've been told there are 3 Muslim sisters that you have imprisoned in one of your monasteries, one of your churches. Go bring those sisters right now. The king himself goes and brings those sisters and he apologizes. He says, Wallah, I did not know anything about this. It is one of my soldiers who took them and I have severely punished that soldier. This will never happen. Please forgive me. And he begs for forgiveness. And Muhammad ibn Amir, he leaves him. This reminds us of Al-Mu'tasim. Al-Mu'tasim is the one who whipped Imam Ahmed, because his brother commanded that his brother, the king or the Khalifa Al-Ma'mun, before he died, he commanded Al-Mu'tasim to whip Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal. This was one of the mistakes he did. But one day Al-Mu'tasim, the Khalifa of the Abbasids, he hears that a Muslim sister has been captured by the Byzantines in the land of Amoriya. And he starts shaking the cup. He says, Wallahi, I'm not going to drink this water until I save that sister. That sister made one of the famous cries in Islamic history. She said, Wa Mu'tasima, oh Mu'tasima, save me. Where are you? You're the Khalifa. Wa Mu'tasima. And he went with his entire army to save one Muslim sister. And that is the character, Ikhwanifillah, that we have as Muslims. We have that chivalry. There's no way you can walk on the street and you find a Muslim sister being harassed, even if it is by the biggest bodybuilder. Wallahi, he shall see the glory of the Muslims and he shall see the youngest of us protecting that sister. We will not allow a single lady from the Muslim sisters to be harmed by anyone. That is the glory, the honor that we have. We have to protect our families and more so our sisters. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept that obligation upon us. So this man, Muhammad ibn Amir, he was excellent when he came to defend the land of the Muslims. One day, as he was conquering the northern states, he passes through a space between 2 mountains. And he crosses over with his entire army. To his shock, the Christians had surrounded him and blocked his pathway of going back to the land of Andalus. They blocked that small passage between the mountains. There was no way he could cross back. He looks to them, he says, MashaAllah, you have blocked my way back and you think you're destroying me. I'll show you what I'll do. So he goes inward towards the lands and he starts conquering fortresses and fortresses until he conquers a small garrison or a small area, and he stays there. He has food, he has water, he has all he requires, and he just relaxes there. Every morning he sends a small army, a small special force battalion, go attack this village, collect ghanima, go attack that place, collect ghanima. And every time he captures the enemies of Allah, he executes them and throws their bodies next to this mountain pass that has been blocked by the northern kingdoms. So the Christians got very angry amongst themselves. They say, you guys are leading to our own destruction. Let this man go back to his land. Him staying here is causing us so much pain and so much agony. Let him go back to his lands. So they go to Muhammad ibn Amir and tell him, please, what do you want? He says, number one, you have to open that path for me. He says, this is the reason we came to see you. We want to open for you the path. Go back to your place. Go back to your country. Go back to your people. He says, no, it's not sufficient. Number two, all those dead bodies, you have to clear them up. I don't want to see any dead bodies on my way as I'm crossing that path. And number three, you see all this money, all this gold and silver and camels and cows and horses, all this wealth you have collected, this ghanima, you have to carry for us. And you take it back with us up to Cordoba, then you can go. These are the conditions they kept. He kept Muhammad ibn Amir Abu Al-Haajib Mansoor, someone who was very powerful, very strong. He brought glory for the Muslims, yet he did a lot of mistakes that led to our destruction and our eventual expulsion from the land of Andalus. This regards his military and his military exploits. Also, with regards to the economy, he built an entire new city, the new city of Zahira, and he moved all the ministers, all the government offices to this new city, and he built his palace there in the land of Zahira. The Muslims, Ikhwani fillah, was so glorified, so powerful at that time. He expanded the mosque in Cordoba that it became the biggest house of worship in the entire world. There was no mosque, there was no church greater or larger in size than the mosque of Cordoba, and this mosque is present till to this day. Ikhwani fillah, in the year 392 of the Hijri calendar, this great man, Al-Hajj al-Mansoor Muhammad ibn Amir, he passed away. After years of jihad, years of conspiracies, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will judge him. But when he died, he made sure that he was buried with bottles that contained dust. 54 bottles in total. Every time he used to go for a battle, he used to make sure that he removes the dust from his clothes and keeps in that qarura, like a small bottle, like those bottles they use in the lab. 54 of them, he made sure he was buried with them. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he says that the dust fi sabilillah and the smoke in the hellfire, they shall never become together. The person who fights fi sabilillah will never enter the hellfire based on this hadith. So he wanted to use this as a shafa'ah, as an intercession for himself. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from him. So the new leader of Andalus, after Muhammad ibn Amir passed away in the year 392 of the Hijri calendar, was his son Abdul Malik ibn Mansoor. Abdul Malik ibn Mansoor led the Muslims from the year 392 to the year 399. And he was like his father. He was the overall leader of Andalus. Yet that Khalifa, that young boy, the one who was, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَلَا تُؤْتُوا السُّفَهَاءَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ. Do not give أَمْوَالَكُمْ. Do not give the foolish people your wealth. Sometimes an orphan, yes, you have inherited money, but not often you have to give them exams, you have to test them, give them money, go open a small kiosk. Orphan has left an inheritance of 10 billion shillings. You'd say it's amana, you give that orphan 10 billion shillings. In 1 week, he loses all that money. It's not proper for you to give money to that orphan without testing them and ensure that they're able to carry that trust. Also the same thing with leadership. You just cannot give leadership to someone until you test them and they are worthy of that position, for it is a greater amana even than the money and the wealth. So he became the leader of the Muslims from the year 392 to the year 399. So this period in Islamic history in Andalus is known as the Amiriya, the Dawla al-Amiriya in Andalus, from the year 366 to the year 399 of the Hijri calendar, 33 years of history. Abdul Malik ibn Mansoor in the year 399, he was fighting jihad and he was killed in jihad. His brother Abdurrahman ibn Mansoor became the leader, or the actual leader of Andalus, with that young boy, the Khalifa, still acting like the Khalifa but not quite a Khalifa. Abdurrahman ibn Mansoor. The scholars say this man كان ماجدا فاسقا مكثرا للشرب الخمر كثير الزنا. This man used to drink a lot of alcohol. He was an alcoholic. He was a fornicator. He was a very bad Muslim. And the people of Andalus used to hate him so much, and more so because his mother was non-Muslim. His mother was a Christian. So then the Muslims did not like him. But this was the brother, and he became the new leader of Andalus. The very first thing he does, he declares himself the new crown prince. He says to Hisham Ibn al-Hakam, Ibn Abdurrahman al-Nasir, the Khalifa, make me your crown prince. After you die, I become the new Khalifa of the Muslims. And he started his bad manners and bad habits. And the people of Andalus were praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that this fasiq, this disobeying this person leaves the lands. So one day, this man, they never used to stop the habit of jihad. From the time of the Bani Umayyad, the Umayyad used to fight jihad every single time. As-Sawa'if, they used to have summer expeditions. When Muhammad ibn Amir came, he made sure every year, twice people go for jihad. Every year, twice you have to go. It's called preemptive strike. You have to strike first before you're struck, so that the enemy is always on the defensive mode. So he started something called Shawati wa Sawa'if. In the winter, we go out. In the summer, we go out. Or in the spring we go out, or in the autumn we go out. At least twice a year we have to go fight. So this man, Abdurrahman ibn Mansoor, also didn't leave this sunnah or this way of his forefathers. So one day he goes out for jihad. The people of Cordoba took this as a chance. So they attacked the palace and they removed that young man, Hisham ibn Hakam ibn Abd al-Rahman al-Nasir from his post as Khalifa, and they kept a new man, Muhammad ibn Hisham ibn Abd al-Jabbar ibn Abd al-Rahman al-Nasir, from the great-grandchildren of Abd al-Rahman al-Nasir, to be the new Muslim leader from the year 399 or 400 therein, and to go there forward. Qanifillah, this brought so much strife, so much division to the lands of the Muslims, and the Muslims started fighting each other, wars left, right and center, that we eventually lost Andalus. And the biggest reason, Qanifillah, for that loss, the infighting, yes, is the main reason, but that infighting has causes behind it, keeping people who are not worthy of position. This is a mistake Muslims did. Do not keep someone who's not worthy of a position, even if they are your own child. Have the Muslims lacked qualified personnel that you have to go keep a 12-year-old to be a leader of the Muslims? Is that keeping your trust? Number two, too much dunya, too much materialism. The Muslims had so much wealth that the palace we mentioned last night that was built by Abd al-Rahman al-Nasir, he made sure that the ceiling was made of gold and silver. لَجَعَلْنَا لِمَنْ يَكْفُرُ بِالرَّحْمَنِ لِبُيُوتِهِمْ سُقُفًا مِنْ فِضَّةٍ. They made silver palaces. This is something that will destroy the Muslims. Number three, Ikhwanifillah, if there is civil war, infighting amongst the Muslims, the enemy will always take advantage. And you Muslims in the end will be the ones that will lose. You shall lose everything. You shall lose your property, your wealth, your land. You will lose everything and you will expel from that land. Number four, Ikhwanifillah, when music, like we mentioned the issue of the riyab, and dunya enters your hearts, you can't succeed. Number five, Ikhwanifillah, when there is racism, there is tribal divisions in society, you Muslims will never, ever, ever gain victory. And this is something they study in the universities in the West. They say if you want to fight the Muslims, do not fight them directly. You have to target them indirectly. Number one, you have to star these tribal divisions or these sectarian divisions or these, firqa or these groups or tribal allegiances. You have to star that. So if Muslims, you're not united as one heart, you shall never gain victory. And these are some of the lessons we take from the land of Andalus so far in our history. Qanifillah, what happened from the event of the year 400 thereafter, and how the Muslims became so weak that we lost these lands that many glorious souls lost their lives to protect and to conquer. This is what we shall look at in our forthcoming lecture tomorrow night. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.